All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, April 28th. We got a full 15-game MLB slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. We'll break them down. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, make sure to keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. In terms of how we did yesterday, we go 1-1. Ben Rice comes through for us. Could have taken him for anything. The Guardians team total over 3.5 does not. They had their opportunities, but they only scored 2 runs. So a 1-1 night. Shout out to Ben Rice because he also came through and cashed the ride of the day, full stand. Had over 1.5 bases for plus 130 there. And yeah, Ben Rice did the damn thing. He had a home run. He had, hit, run, RBI, multiple bases. Ben Rice did his thing. I think that home run was his only hit. So I guess he didn't exactly, do everything. But one home run will get the job done. Didn't mean to rhyme that. Whether you have him for a hit, hits, runs, and RBIs, or over 1.5 total bases. So you know what? Shout out to Stan for the ride of the day there for plus 130 cash. That is now 2 plus money cashes for Stan in a row. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump on board with at least one person's play each and every day and give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you do win, we continue to roll in ride of the day plays. You go on a little bit of a streak. If you lose, you're still getting the shout out, but unfortunately, we're talking about a loss. So let's get some bangers down in the comments. And what do you say we dive into game number 1 here, guys? Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get rocking here. We got the Guardians taking on the Rays. Tanner Bybee on the bump going up against Nick Martinez. Nick Martinez honestly has looked pretty good. You could say maybe his last, 2 starts ago was a little shaky, but he bounced right back with 8 innings pitched, 6 Ks, and 1 earned against Cincinnati. Now, Tanner Bybee has been a guy that we've backed in the past, and I don't want to necessarily say too much negative about him. He's also been pretty good. He has 1 blow-up start on the season, 8 earned against Atlanta through 4 2/3. I think that may be kind of swaying things in terms of his season-long numbers, but overall, his last 3 starts, not exactly the worst, right? Where I would go in this one is potentially considering an under or maybe even a first 5, first 3 under. When we take a peek at the pitch mixes for both of these pitchers, you could see here, we're going to get sinker and changeup from Nick Martinez. That changeup was the pitch that he was leading with. Last couple starts, the sinker's kind of taken over, but regardless of that, you have the sinker and the changeup, and even the cutter, his third pitch. Cleveland not exactly hitting all that well. Them hitting righties isn't all that tremendous. Last 7, not all that tremendous. At home, not all that tremendous. So I think Nick Martinez and his pitch mix can deal with this lineup. And you flip it over to Tanner Bybee, who's going to throw that 4-seam and going to throw that cutter, which is a really good whiff rate pitch for him. And check it out. Fastball 29th, cutter 23rd is where Tampa Bay ranks there. Them against righties is a lot better. On the road is a lot better. And last 7 has been pretty good. So we're kind of hoping and crossing our fingers that Tanner Bybee is able to go out there and do his job. In terms of what we see from the bullpen here, even with the arms that went yesterday, I would say that Cleveland has a slight advantage. But that being said, Tampa Bay has a slight lineup advantage. This one's a tough one. I would say I'm going to look at the plus money on the Tampa Bay side of things. I think this one's closer to 50-50 than the odds would indicate. So, yes, I'll trust the plus money. But again, first 3, first 5 is probably what, I peek at a little bit more throughout the day and try and work towards a final play. When it comes to a player prop, I don't mind the idea of someone like Yandy Diaz. I mean, his numbers against Tanner Bybee are pretty good. He has 10 plate appearances against, 300 average, 1 home run, OPS of 1,000, 700 slugging. But realistically, what I like is the fact that he hits that 4-seam pretty well. The WOBA is actually not terrible against the cutter either. So, yeah, I think we can probably say Yandy Diaz. I mean, right now, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, you're getting a nice price up minus 110. Orioles taking on the Astros. Shane Baz going up against Kai-Wei Tang. Kai-Wei Tang's been moved to the bullpen, obviously now coming up. I do think that helped him out a decent amount, you know what I mean? So I don't want to sit here and just totally rag on the dude, but I will say I don't necessarily love him. But getting the start here, to me, Shane Baz still is a talented pitcher, and I like to back Shane Baz, or I have in the past, right? He really hasn't given us much of a reason to this year. I mean, ERA in the 5s, whip in the mid 1s, average against of 300. You take a peek at him at home, things look just as bad. Him against this Astros lineup in the past, not all that tremendous, but that's where maybe you could start to argue things look okay. I think that this price is a little absurd. So I do think that I slightly, and it is a slight one, slightly lean towards the Astros. I mean, they're coming off of 7 runs against the Yankees yesterday. Maybe Orioles being at home, having a day off and having another series at home gives them somewhat of an advantage. But hopefully Kaiwei Tang can continue to do what he has been doing, pitching out of the bullpen, and that's been pitching really efficiently, right? So we'll hope that that is the case, because the plus money on the Astros side of things kind of makes sense to me. Now, we have this priced right where it is. Astros plus 116, our 10,000 game sim model has us at plus 118. So it's nothing crazy or off the reservation. Seems like an efficient line, but I just can't really fully trust Shane Baz based on at least the workload that we've seen this season, right? So I'll lean towards the Astros. In terms of a total, I don't mind the idea of an over. I mean, I think we saw a little bit, or have seen a little bit more consistency out of this Orioles lineup. And yeah, I mean, this Astros team should be good to go as well. I know that they're filled with a bunch of righties, and, you know, Shane Baz is a righty, but he's been good against righties, but so has his Astros lineup in terms of facing righty pitchers. So I'm going to lean over in this spot as well. Looks like we have decent enough weather at Camden, or Camden at Oriole Park, whatever the hell the name is. All right, Reds taking on the Rockies. We'll be quick with this one. We have Chase Burns going up against Tomoyuki Sagano. Chase Burns, obviously, the pitching advantage. I mean, Sagano doesn't have the worst numbers, especially for pitching in Coors this season. That being said, he is a guy that's going to pitch to contact. He is getting barreled this season at a 15.5% rate. You can even see that right here. And he's going to throw fastball and splitter, which are that makes up nearly 60% of his pitch mix. Those are two of the best pitches that Cincinnati is going to see. You flip it over to the other side of things, Chase Burns, who's going to go fastball slider. Neither one of those pitches is all that tremendous for Colorado. We can even look at it from a lineup perspective in terms of their pitch mix if this damn thing loads. Mickey Moniak and maybe you could say Willie Castro are the only two that seem to hit those two pitches, at least fastball and slider, pretty well. On the other side of things, we look at this versus pitch mix on the red side of things, and realistically, Friedel and Matt McClain don't hit his pitch mix well, but you see a ton of green in the meat of that order. Ellie, Sal Stewart, Nathaniel Lowe, Spencer Steer. So I think that we could see some runs here out of the Reds. But, I said we'll be quick because it's a crazy price at minus 204. And I don't like taking a home team, especially an inconsistent team like the Reds with the minus 1.5 at home. The only thing that I could probably get behind here, and again, I mentioned their inconsistency, the only thing I could probably get behind here was potentially a Reds team total over. But again, now you're going to be paying somewhat of a price for a 4.5 number that I still don't know if I feel totally confident in. So Reds in their team total over, but maybe we could mix in some of those player props in those names we mentioned in terms of guys that do hit that pitch mix pretty well. All right, Phillies taking on the Giants. Luzardo's on the bump. He's going up against Tyler Mahle. Jesus Luzardo is a really talented pitcher. And he finally had a start against the Cubs. I mean, he has that one good start against Colorado earlier, but realistically, he's not had the best start to his season, right? And that start was 4 2/3, 5 hits, 4 walks, but only 1 earned. So if he allowed even one more run, I don't think we'd even be giving him you know what I mean? Now he is going up against the Giants, and I don't want to sit here and act like the Giants are a very good offense against lefties, though. They've been a lot better than against righties. Luzardo is a lefty. Tyler Mahle on the other side of things. I mean, I like Tyler Mahle. I think he's a good pitcher, but realistically, he's going to see a decent amount of lefties today. Don't necessarily trust him, especially on the road. I think there could be some runs here in this game. Slight wind blowing out at Citizens Bank as well. That's probably the direction I end up leaning in an over, just because I do think both offenses, especially Giants against lefty, could do some damage. But if I had to pick a side, as crazy as it is, and you can even see this here, we have, after 10,000 sims, we have the Phillies winning this game, 4.4 to 3.5, but only, in terms of those odds and the implied odds, like minus 137, which is where I'd kind of put this number. The minus 169 is a little bit crazy to me. So I do think, maybe it's kind of crazy, but I do think the Giants would be the side that I look at here simply because I think we have a really expensive price tag on the Phillies. And I think you're overpaying for a team that is, FYI, 1-9 in their last 10 games. So yeah, give me the Giants here in this spot. Again, I do get it. Luzardo's good. The Giants offense isn't great, but maybe we're finding something there in terms of the Giants hitting lefties. And again, I don't mind the over. I think that this is a Philly lineup that even though I'm ragging on them right now, at some point we're going to look back and be like, wow, remember that time when the Phillies weren't scoring? Because now they're going nuclear. So Giants and the over. I don't think I had any player props in this one. Let me double check that. Yeah, no player props in this one as of right now. But as always, guys, make sure to keep an eye down on the final plays in case we do add anything or change anything. Pirates taking on the Cardinals. Braxton Ashcraft going up against Kyle Leahy here. I'm not exactly a fan of Kyle Leahy, but that's just because he really hasn't given us much of a reason to be. Essentially, he's going to go out there and give you 4 or 5 innings of, 2 to 3 earned runs and call it a day. Then they do turn it over to a bullpen that isn't all that tremendous. Now, Pittsburgh's bullpen, I would say, is the better bullpen to start, and Braxton Ashcraft is the better pitcher, but they got a ton of work from the bullpen yesterday. It was essentially a bullpen day, and even just check it out here, right? Like, because we saw, Dotel pitch a handful of innings, we saw Montgomery out there, they threw like damn near every arm they have. So Ashcraft, who has, in terms of his innings pitched, right, we'll pull that up here. In terms of his innings, he has given them some length, a couple times 6 innings, 7 innings last time out, but can we trust that again? That worries me as you get later into the game. But I still do think that even with, which is kind of crazy to say, even with all those bullpen arms that threw, I still do think that they have maybe a bullpen advantage just talent-wise. So I guess what I'm saying here is this probably is a Pittsburgh spot for me to take a peek at, but I don't know if I like the price yet again. And I we get comments being like, stop, if a win is a win and all that. If you're doing this every single day, the price is literally the thing that you should be paying attention to, because a 5-cent difference in a price or something like that in terms of minus 159 to minus 150 after a 162 game MLB season, that's going to make a whole difference. So yes, you can and should be kind of nitpicky when it comes to a price. That's my concern with Pittsburgh today. Not that I think that they can win the game or oh my God, they're the better team, better starter. No, I think that they are very, very expensive here in this spot. Now, that being said, we do have them at minus 162 over our simulation. So we have them right around this price. Not that crazy in terms of at least our 10,000 game sim. I'll lean in that direction, but again, the price tag may prevent me from walking out of the store with it. In terms of the total, I think Pittsburgh can score some runs today. And maybe taking a peek at Pittsburgh team total over could be kind of a pivot in this spot, just because now you don't have to worry about the bullpen. You don't have to worry about Ashcraft. You could just say, hey, go attack Kyle Leahy. You're getting plus money for 4.5. This is a team in which this season has hit the over in 52% of games. When they are at home, they've done it in 57% of games. You could see that here. They're going up against a righty. Home righties, 55, averaging 4.1. Not all that terrible. What about when we see the pitch mix from him? So he's going to throw 30+% four seam. Let's see if this checks out. 30+% four seam this year. They're averaging 4.2, but have hit the over in 54% of games. At home, last 2, 7, and 6. They went up against McClanahan and, we didn't put righties on, but we had McClanahan and Pivetta. Okay, maybe Pittsburgh team total over could be a little bit of a pivot here. And Brandon Lowe, a guy that has been hitting righties pretty well this year. He's a lefty. Kyle Leahy struggles against lefties. And what I'm really looking at is that pitch mix, right? That fastball looks like something that he can definitely handle. If we do take a peek at him against, guys that threw a fastball 30+% of the time, nothing really checks out. What about him just at home against a righty? At home this year against a righty. Yeah, he's a little inconsistent. You could see plenty of games this year in which he's had some spikes, but nothing overwhelming. His teammate, Brian Reynolds, was another one that I wanted to look at there. We'll pull him up. Let's see. So Brian Reynolds hits, runs, and RBIs against a righty. Yeah, still some inconsistency. That even kind of turns me off of the Pirates team total over looking at their, 3 and 4 bat and seeing that maybe they're not even in the best of 2 and 3 bat, best of situations. I'm kind of on the fence. Pittsburgh and their team total over. All right, Blue Jays taking on the Red Sox. Trey Savage is coming up here for the first time in a while, right, in terms of his starts. Has he even pitched this season? But either way, we have Peyton Tolley, another young pitcher on the other side of things. And I don't know if I'm getting too cute here, but Tolley did look really good in that first start there. He pitched against the Yankees, went 6 innings, just 1 earned. It was a home run, 1.5 ERA, a whip of I think it was 0.6 or something like that. Now, Trey Savage, like I mentioned, we haven't seen anything from him either. So both these guys really have nothing to show for. And I say that almost in a good way, because I do think that we may see some like some, the batter doesn't know what's coming from these two guys. And I kind of like the idea of a low scoring game. I kind of like the idea of a first 3 under, a first 5 under, maybe even a nerfy. Again, could it blow up in our face? Am I getting too cute? I would never really deny that, because what if Savage isn't ready? What if, Peyton Tolley looked good in his last start, but now gets hit up by Toronto, a team that I do think is starting to look a lot better? Sure. But when you have two pitchers who are two talented pitchers, it's not like these are nobodies, two, top prospect-esque guys coming into this spot, I think that they could kind of deal against two lineups that are very, very inconsistent. And again, we haven't seen these lineups don't have too much experience with either one of these guys. So I'll lean towards the first 3, first 5 under. I almost think first 3 may be the best, because you do have, again, two young pitchers going up against one another, but it's, first time through the order. So I kind of like the idea of that. Trey Savage in 2025 against lefties, which, there is a handful of lefties at the top of the order there, was actually pretty good. 1 whip, 161 average against, and a K rate of 31.1. So I think that's pretty good. And then Peyton Tolley, obviously just the one start this year, really good against righties, but last year did have his struggles, but that even still was a very small sample size. So first 3 under is what I take a peek at here. In terms of a side, I don't think the Blue Jays go out there and get shut out again. They are going up against a lefty. I will say that is not the side that they've been hitting all that well, but their offense still has shown a little bit of life. I'm going to lean towards the Blue Jays here in this spot. I think that I trust their bullpen a little bit more as well. Not that the Red Sox really did too much, in terms of needing, Suarez went 8 innings. So it's not because the Red Sox are taxed. It's because I do think that the bullpen for for the Blue Jays does keep guys off the bases just a little bit more. This Red Sox bullpen doesn't strike out. They walk at a mediocre rate. I like a few names, like I've said all year long. I like a few names in there, but not so much. And the fact that Varland, Hoffman, Rogers, and Fisher are all good to go, I think that gives the late game edge to the Blue Jays, especially given the fact that they didn't score yesterday. They're probably bottlenecked up, you know what I mean? I have a question, or I guess it's more of like a question/announcement here. So Tassos, if you guys don't know Tassos, my right-hand man, he does the player prop videos every day here on the channel. We've been kicking around the idea of doing some sort of a morning show, like 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern, going through, just kind of shooting the shit about the slate, giving some plays, additional plays that you don't see in our videos, maybe building a parlay, that type of stuff. Is that something? It'd be live streamed. You guys would be in the chat interacting. Is that something you'd want to see, 3-4 times a week? Let us know down in the comments. Let me know down in the comments. I do think it could be really, really fun. Obviously, if you guys watch H2H during the NFL season, Tassos and I have a very funny, go back and forth with each other type relationship, which I think could be really fun on a daily basis. So let me know down in the comments if that's something that you guys would be interested in watching. I think it'd be another piece of content through the dog days of the summer when we only have the MLB picks. Not that I have a problem with only having that. I love betting MLB, but let me know in the comments. Does that sound like it's something that's interesting to you guys? Mets taking on the Nats. Clay Holmes going up against Zach Littell. I do think Zach Littell is a ticking time bomb, and we've even seen bad starts out of him this year, whereas Clay Holmes seems to have a little bit of consistency running through him right now. He's given you 5+ innings of 2 earned baseball, but even when I say that, there's been multiple times this year where he's gone 7 innings, gone into and completed 7 innings. So I do think that you can rely on him. Not that they necessarily need to. Obviously, the bullpen is totally fresh, and this is a bullpen that's a little bit more impressive than I would have thought they'd be heading into the season. But either way, I guess what we have to talk about here is, do we like the idea of what we're seeing in terms of -185 from the Mets? Now, I turned to our model, and we have them at -170, which is, a fraction off, but still kind of confirming my suspicion in the sense that this is a Mets team that, with Holmes on the mound, with a fresh bullpen, with a healthier lineup than we've seen, still could do some damage. But I don't mind the idea of, just saying, okay, well, maybe the Mets score some runs. Maybe we look at an over. It's going to be mid-50s there at Citi Field. Not like the best run-scoring weather, but like I've been saying all year long, like a lot of people have been saying all year long, the Nationals bullpen, you can always count on them to give up something. So I think the Mets could get to Littell. I think they could go out there and score some runs on the bullpen. The question now is Clay Holmes and that sinker he's going to throw. Washington's 11th in terms of run value against the sinker. They don't whiff at just a low 10.5% whiff rate. Do they get the balls in play, and do we see some runs out of Washington? Essentially, I am asking the question of, do we like the idea of a Mets team total over, right? And just go do your thing, Mets. Or you can get plus money for, over 4.5 right now. Or do we just say, hey, screw it? That total down there at 7.5, you can also get plus money for that. Or not really, I think it's like minus 105. So near even money for that. Maybe we take a peek at that and say, hey, the Nats can kind of do some damage on their own as well. Obviously, a good lineup. I will say they're going up against a righty. That's not exactly their forte. Them against lefties is a hell of a lot better, but maybe Clay Holmes has some regression coming. I'm going to lean Mets and the over, but I still am going to kind of try to do my own due diligence here in the back end of or the background of, do we like the Mets team total or do we like the full game over? Nationals full game overs have been crushing this year. Braves taking on the Tigers. Martin Perez, who's been impressive this year, going up against Casey Mize. Now, Casey Mize, I really do think is one of the more underrated pitchers, honestly, in the league, right? Like, this guy is very good. He's been really good this season. You can even see here he has one bad start, and he kind of caught Minnesota right in the middle of them remember when Minnesota was really good and they were raking? Other than that, Arizona, 6 innings, 1 earned. Good offense. Miami, sneaky good offense, 5 2/3, 1 earned. Boston should be a good offense, but they're not. 6 2/3, 0 earned. And then Milwaukee, good offense, right? 6 innings pitched, 1 earned. Now, some might sit here and be like, hey, this dude seems like he could be looking at a little bit of regression at some point or something like that, right? And fine, if that's your argument, then I'm not going to try and deny it, right? Like, a guy that's pitching that well, sure, at some point, he probably ends up having, a little bit of a toe stubbing. But can't you make the exact same argument about Martin Perez on the side of the Braves? I mean, check this dude out, right? He went out there, dealt against the Athletics, not for many innings, but did. Arizona got to him. We already saw Mize pitch well against Arizona. Then Cleveland, he pitched well against. Philly, he pitched well against. We just talked about Washington. He did allow 2 earned through 3 innings, but still not exactly like a crazy bad start. I think that I would sniff out a little bit regression on the Martin Perez side of things before Casey Mize, and you're getting plus money on the Tiger side of things. Martin Perez is also a lefty. That is the side that I do. Actually, I would say the Tigers are starting to kind of come into form of hitting lefties and righties. I was going to say that's the side I like. They do hit righties really well. Lefties are starting to hit a little bit better on base. They're not striking out. They are drawing walks as well. So, yeah, I guess I like the idea of the Tigers. I think that this is a spot in which, you have somewhat of a 50-50 game. In fact, I think you have a pitching advantage on the Tiger side of things. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your ass and say that, the bullpen's better or the lineup's better. This Braves team is one of the best 3 teams in the entire league. But Casey Mize, I do think, is almost like, I don't want to throw ace-worthy out there, but this dude is really, really, really good. And he has been good. Of course, today, now that I say it, he's going to get blown up. But give me the Tigers in this spot. I guess in terms of a total, an under. Because what if Perez does continue to pitch well, Casey Mize pitches well, you do hand it off to 2 bullpens that, one, the Tigers bullpen's really fresh, and 2, the Braves bullpen's really good. I don't think they hate that idea. The only thing that kind of concerns me there is Perez could blow up, and the Tigers, if they do catch you, they can catch you. And then secondarily, that Atlanta lineup is very, very good. So kind of tough to get to a total, but I think for plus money, Detroit may be my look today. If you can get a good price, I'm not saying 170 is a good price, but if you can find something else out there, or if you're looking for a parlay piece, kind of like the idea here of Austin Riley under 1.5 total bases. He's batting terribly against righties. Obviously, you kind of scope this out, and he was doing well at first, but even looking at this season, we'll put him up against righties. He stayed under in plenty of games, right? He is at home, still staying under there, and what I like is the pitch mix. He doesn't hit that fastball very well. He's going to get 30+% fastballs here from Casey Mize. Plenty of unders on the season right here. 30%, boom. He stayed under in half of his games against a righty, boom. You see a few. And Casey Mize, does have his struggles against righties. I'd much prefer him if you look at these numbers against lefties. But nonetheless, still, he hasn't gotten a hit off of him in 2 plate appearances. And Austin Riley not exactly trending in the right direction. White Sox taking on the Angels. This is arguably, a couple plays here is arguably, a few of my favorite plays on the board. And it is crazy because, it's the White Sox and the Angels. But Jose Soriano has been literally a Cy Young candidate this year. He's been absolutely dealing. But on the other side of things is Davis Martin. And Davis Martin is like flying under the radar as one of the better pitchers so far this season. Seriously, let's look at his starts, right? You have this Miami one, okay, 5 innings, 3 earned. But then he goes up against Toronto. At this time, we didn't know Toronto stunk, but 6 innings, 0 earned. KC, same thing. We didn't know that they stink. 7 innings, just 2 earned, but 7 hits allowed. Kind of not walking guys either. Athletics, 1 earned through 7. Arizona, 1 earned through 6 in the third. This dude is dealing. What do I like in this one? I like the idea of a nerfy first 3, first 5, and all of those are things that I really do like. I mean, let's go ahead and head in here and say, okay, let's look at the Angels when they have Jose Soriano on the bump this season, right? Looking at the under, 4-2 to the Nerfy. What about the first 3 under 2.5? 4-2 to the first 3, right? This is Soriano. First 5, 3-3, okay, couple blow-up starts, but even if we look at this, those 2 of these ones, and I mean, all of these ones where runs were scored, they scored a bunch of runs, right? 86%. They scored 6 out of the 1 run, 7, 8, like they were the ones that scored a bunch of runs going up against the pitchers that they went up against. So I do like the idea of that first 5, but I do think you have a low 3.5. So maybe if you can snag that 2, I like the 2.5s and I like the under 1.5 or under the half. Now let's flip it over to the White Sox and put Davis Martin on the bump. This isn't going to look as good, but I still do like it. And again, we're looking at games in which they don't score. So 2 of the 3 in which they didn't end up scoring. Because you can see here, 2 and 3, but those 2 ones were 2 of the 3 that he missed. They actually scored the runs. What about in the first 3 here? Still stayed under in 3 of 2, but again, if we kind of X out these games that they're scoring runs in, they're staying under. So is it crazy? I mean, this is the type of game where I'm passionate about it. I sell you guys on it, which I don't try to do, by the way. If you guys are new, I like to give my opinions, my plays. Couldn't care less if you're riding or fading because there's always a time to fade me, guys. We're not that good at this, right? But this is one where I'm like, I think this is a hammer at home spot, and we're going to. That's the good news. We're going to put our money where our mouth is, but it's definitely the type of spot where I get so gung-ho, I get so passionate about it. You guys are riding with it, and then it's like 6-1 after the first inning. That definitely has its possibility, but I like the Nerfy. I like the first 3. I think both these pitchers can get through the lineup one time, and let's call a spade here. Do we really think that either lineup, regardless of the pitching on the mound, either lineup is all that fantastic? And we saw a really high-scoring game yesterday, right? But guess what? It was 3-0 after 3. Sure, that would, kill us in the sense of, a first 3 or first 5, but realistically, it wasn't like there were 7 runs in the bottom of the 8th or 7th that made that game a lot more competitive and a lot higher scoring. So yes, I like the idea of a first 3, or Nerfy, or even a first 5 if you can get it. In terms of a side, I mean, I don't mind the idea of backing Davis Martin here. I think Soriano is way, 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 way better. And by the way, guys, as I'm all over the place here, the bullpens are terrible and taxed. So I definitely don't like a full game under in this spot. I would even lean maybe full game over, which is crazy how much I like the under in the beginning of the game. But I would lean the White Sox just because I do think that lineup actually is pretty damn good right now and pretty consistent. And I think that the Angels bullpen could kind of give it up a little bit more. It's crazy because you're kind of splitting hairs there. But again, this is a 50-50 type spot, plus money on one side. But I made it clear what spots I like in this game, I think. And by the way, guys, this tool that you were seeing me use and even went through, looking at the first 3 unders and stuff like that, this is bucketstobucks.com if you do want to check it out. We have a plethora. I mean, 1, 2, 3. We have 6 freaking filter options on this one screen. We have built this thing out super, super well. I shouldn't even say I mean, I'm the brains behind the operation, but I have not been hands-on with this. We've definitely hired a bunch of people that are a little bit smarter and, cost a lot more than I guess what I would be able to do. So check it out, guys, bucketstobucks.com. We're building this thing daily. And again, my goal is to build such a powerful tool at a fraction of the cost. You should not be paying, $100+ a month for your tools, especially when this is an option. More people should be making smarter and smarter decisions. And here is one of the options. If we've worked with research tools in the past, if we've worked with them, I sign off on those as well. But check out bucketstobucks.com, link down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Brewers taking on the Diamondbacks. Right now we have Chad Patrick as a starter for the Bruins going up against Merrill Kelly. Now Merrill Kelly, albeit he is a good pitcher, I don't think that he's really shown any new baseball fans that this season. He has the 2 starts, 5 1/3 against Baltimore, allowed 2 earned, but 4 walks and 5 hits. Then he pitches against the White Sox, the team we just talked about that I said I don't think that this lineup's all that great. Maybe they have been batting better, so sure, maybe there's a leash there. 10 hits, 3 walks, 8 earned runs. Yeah, 8 earned runs. Snowman. This Brewers squad is a lineup that I do think, is one of the better lineups, and I mean that, is one of the better lineups in baseball. Have they been playing like that? No, but we've seen a ton of teams struggle and not look like themselves. It's a long season, we have to remember that. Chad Patrick on the other side of things, in his last 3 starts, the whip, the average against, those all look good. There are some advanced numbers that worry me a little bit, but I do think that for the most part, we can count on this dude. Even if he's not going to go deep into games, it's not like we have to sit here and worry about the Milwaukee bullpen. So I think Milwaukee's probably the side that we look at here. We did just cash a Milwaukee bet a couple days ago when they played the Pirates. They won 5-0. So I think that that's something that we can go to again. Again, Merrill Kelly, maybe even if he does bounce back, good for him. I don't mind Merrill Kelly. The bullpen on the Arizona side of things isn't all that great. And, they do have a lot of, I think their bullpen is, am I right? Someone can we even can fact check it actually. I think their entire bullpen is righties, which, Terang, Bowers, we could see a few guys in this lineup that do hit righties well. Do I wish that they were, all righties? I mean, better on base percentage. They're not striking out. They are walking lefties. They don't really hit all that well. So I guess that's good news. But again, we can honestly sit here and say that this Brewers lineup hasn't exactly looked like what we thought that they would look like this season. Like right now, there's no doubt that the Arizona lineup is a better lineup today than the Brewers, but by game's end, I'm not sure if that's the case. I think Chad Patrick could pitch well here. So give me the Brewers. I like their team total over as well. Chad Patrick's going to see a ton of lefties. That's kind of his weak side, so maybe Arizona can get a few off him. I'm going to lean over 8 in this spot as well. Yeah, Brewers in the over. I think that's what I'm comfortable with. Twins taking on the Mariners. I feel like a dummy after yesterday. I mean, I said in the video I like the Twins. I think I could go look at their team total over. Didn't even like further consider it throughout the day. But we got a bunch of comments being like, no way, that's a terrible look. This Prelip kid against Castillo. The Twins win 11-4. Now, I can't sit here and victory lap it whatsoever because I didn't even give it that secondary look, after the video was over. But I wish I could have shut up some of the guppies in the comments. I can't. The Guppies kind of won that battle because ultimately I didn't have the nuts to drag them on the desk and say, hey, I'm doing this. Not safe for work. Anyways, Joe Ryan, Logan Gilbert, two really good pitchers here, obviously, on the bump. This is a game in which, it's probably going to start out low scoring if these guys continue. You could see via the buckets to bucks, Nerfy screen and the Nerfy predictor. This is the number 2 Nerfy play that we have on the board. Minus 133 to a 56% hit rate in our brain. I mean, it's not exactly the biggest edge, but I still do think there's a good chance of a Nerfy in this spot. Overall, though, where I'd go is probably Seattle bouncing back. Logan Gilbert at this price, I do think is a decent enough spot. To me, he's a guy that's kind of due to go out there and deal as well. I don't think that he's obviously been good, but he hasn't been really good this year almost, I would say. Maybe that one start against Houston, he really dealt, but everything else has been 5 innings, 5 to 6, 2 to 3 earned. And I don't think I think we have a better Logan Gilbert on our hands. And flipping that over to the other side of things, you have Joe Ryan, who I do think is obviously showing people that, hey, I am still a good pitcher and all that, but you can argue he's one due for regression. We saw a little bit of regression against the Mets. Who's to say the Mariners don't come in here and do something like that, right? And you have guys like J-Rod or Randy Arozarena, right? These guys have good numbers. Cal Raleigh has a 300 average off of him in 10 plate appearances. These guys have some decent enough numbers. Naylor, bad average, but 730 OPS. The meat of this lineup does seem to hit Joe Ryan in small sample size pretty well. So I like the idea of the Mariners here in this spot. If you like the Twins today, I don't have the biggest argument against it. Joe Ryan's been pitching well, but to me, especially given the fact that the Mariners are now coming off a loss, seems like they may be a little bit more incentivized. And they do have the better bullpen, definitely. So Mariners for me, maybe even Mariners team total over because Joe Ryan could pitch well. But what happens when you hand it off to that Twins bullpen, right? 20-30 ERA, whip is 1.53. That's good enough for bottom 6 in the league. Not striking out. They're walking a lot of guys. And this Mariners team was pretty consistent heading into the game, right? The few games before, 5, 7, 4, 2, 3, 11, 5, 3 runs, even 4 yesterday. What is their team total? Like I said, I think this game starts slow. I don't mind a first 3 under a Nerfy, but Mariners team total is 3.5. Ooh, minus 130, a little pricey. I still don't mind that. Give me the Mariners and their team total over. And then in terms of player props, right, we don't have to dig into each of these, but like I mentioned, we do have a couple guys that have some good numbers here against Joe Ryan, and let's just match up some of those guys that match up well with the pitch mix. J-Rod, look at that. 3 of the top 5 pitches that he throws, including the 4-seam, is a pitch, and the sinker, the 2 biggest pitches that he throws, right? He hits pretty damn well. He is a righty. Joe Ryan against righties has been damn good this year, so if you want to target a lefty, someone like Josh Naylor or something like that, I guess I get it, or Cal Raleigh, who's going to be batting from the left side, I get it. But I think J-Rod and his numbers could check out. Texas taking on New York, the Yankees. We have DeGrom on the bump going up against Cam Schlittler. Both of these pitchers, really good. Cam Schlittler, some of his numbers are just damn impressive. Now, DeGrom, I don't know if we'll get, how deep we'll get him into the game, but he's been really good this year as well. One start in which and it was his first start of the season in which he's allowed more than one run. Now, 5, 6, 4, 5 2/3. That's pretty damn good in terms of innings, but he's also the type of guy that I think, we could see those innings in the pitch count, he's been pretty damn efficient to start the season. Is that going to be the case moving forward? Now, it might be. I'm not saying it's not. I just think it's something to monitor. Cam Schlittler is a young kid. He's probably down to just pitch his arm off if he needs to, right? And I mentioned that because we do have, obviously, I guess from the perspective of, starting pitchers, we do have 2 good starting pitchers on the mound. But say those guys kind of get out of Dodge and they get through the lineups, right? What happens then? And I think that's what happened. That's what we have to consider when we go to the bullpen. Texas's bullpen only used, who they pitch yesterday? Like two guys that, what do we got? Gray and Collier. 2 of the non-important arms in that lineup, right? They have Alexander, Eunice, Beeks, Wynn, all good to go. Latz, good to go. On the other side of things, the Yankees, they did get the win, but they pitched Bednar, 18 pitches. We saw Tim Hill pitch 24. He pitched 2 days ago as well. Same thing with Duvall. So I think that there is a late game advantage here for Texas. I just get concerned that is the lineup really going to step up? Now, they are a team that, is hitting righties well, but even just take a peek at this pitch mix. And we know that we're going to get a ton of fastball, cutter, and sinkers out of Schlittler, right? Texas, not exactly the best team against 2 of those pitches. Even if we just take a peek at Texas and say, hey, let's take a peek at them when they, see a lot of fastballs. We'll go 20. What do we have from Schlittler? 40% fastball. So let's go 30% fastball, right? 30% fastball, and then we're going to look at cutter at 20%. You're seeing a decent amount of red here in terms of what they've done. And this season, nothing really matches that. Let's get out the cutter so we can have a couple examples. Okay, so, this season when we say, let's just go, the cutters really mess with this. Let's go sinker to see if we can mix this in. There's the red. It's not as bad as I thought, right? Like, if we just say 30% fastball, there is plenty of green there, and they have won, 8 of the 16 games. I'm going to lean towards Texas. I do worry that the pitch mix isn't necessarily going to check out. I think both pitchers could get through this game fairly well, and maybe we see late runs on the Texas side of things. I'm going to lean towards Texas as well as their team total over, but as weird as that is, and I rarely do this, team total over, but I almost like a full game under. I think one of these pitchers shoves today, and getting to that full game over, I think, can be a little bit difficult. That's crazy, I know. I don't think we roll with both of those, but putting things in a vacuum, I think Texas could score late. Maybe not necessarily off Schlittler, but could score late. But I think DeGrom and Schlittler could kind of get this off to a good pace and cruise to an under. That's super weird, leading towards a team total over and a full game under. Padres taking on the Cubbies. Walker Buehler going up against Eddie Cabrera. Edward Cabrera, I do think, is far better than Walker Buehler. I think that he's probably in a good spot here against a lineup that doesn't really hit all that well. But Edward Cabrera, though he's pitching, 6-7 innings in his last couple starts, he's still allowing 3 earned, which if you get the Padres on base, I think that they could bring some home. But let's talk about Walker Buehler, right? This is a pitcher that obviously has had his struggles this year, in the past, all that jazz, right? His last start was 2 2/3. This is in Colorado. Now, Colorado's a bad lineup, but it is Coors Field, so I don't know exactly where to, give and take there. But 2 2/3, 8 hits, 3 walks, 4 earned runs. Prior to that, he really only had the one good start against Colorado, who we just talked about. Seattle got 2 off of him, 4 off him against Boston, 3 San Francisco. So even though Edward Cabrera is coming off of a pretty rough start, I still do think, and if we just look at it from this perspective, right? Let's just map these ones out from a lineup, right? This is a Cubs team that's hitting righties really well, and a San Diego team that isn't necessarily. When they are at home, things look pretty good, but not necessarily. And you're also going to see 1, 2, 3, 4 lefties, 5 righties. Lefties, he really struggles against. The righties, he's been good against, but let's be real. Bush, Happ, some of these lefties, Pete Crow, Armstrong, could do some damage on him. Sure, Herner, Bregman, Suzuki, maybe he pitches well against, but even still, that cutter that is his main pitch. Oh, would you look at that, number 1 team in the league, Cubs. I think this is a little bit of short price. If we do head over to our model projection for this game, you'll see right here we have the Cubs 4.7 to 4.3, minus 116 is what you're getting there in terms of just the implied probability, and you can get them right around that number if you do want to. So I think that is a fair number. Is it a number that I think we have a huge edge on? Maybe not, but give me the Cubs here in this spot, and the Cubs team total over. I think Edward Cabrera could pitch really well, but for plus money right now, you're able to get the Cubs over 4.5. I think that could be a look. Now, I do think that we have slight wind blowing in, but it's going to be nearly 70. It's clear sky, 65 degrees. We've seen this Cubs team score a bunch this year. They've scored 5 runs at least in 59% of games. When they've been on the road, 62% of games. On the road against righties, 71% of games. So I think we could see the Cubs score some runs today. I meant to mention, guys, over on bucketstobucks.com, we have a brand new feature. It's really cool. In the navigation, you can head over to streaks. And what this is, I was scrolled all the way to the bottom, sorry. What this is you can pick any stat, right? Say we wanted to look at strikeouts and we wanted to say, okay, well, 4 plus, the lineup, no, that's strikeouts for batters. Pitcher strikeouts, right? We want 5 plus, and the minimum streak we want is 3 plus. You could see pitchers that are on a streak getting the strikeout line. What about just hits for batters, right? Minimum 5. And you can see all the players that are in the league right now on a 5 or more hit game streak. It is really, really cool. Same thing when you want to look at it for NBA, right? We could set this to, let's go 25 points and look at players that are on a streak. Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid. If we wanted to say, hey, set it to right here, set it to 19 and a half, so 20 plus. You could see players there as well. So really cool feature. I mean, it is just a minor feature, but definitely a requested one. An easy way to see guys that are on a streak, especially if you're trying to build same game parlays, toss in some juiced plays, stuff like that. It's simple. I'm not saying there's like a massive edge or this is groundbreaking, but it's just a very easy way to say, hey, who's on a hit streak? Who's on a strikeout streak? Who's on a home run streak? That type of stuff. So just a cool thing that we've added. Via the request, via the polling that we do. So we're listening to you guys, and we're building what you ask for. Bucketsbucks.com. All right, we got the A's taking on the Royals. I like this match. I think it's going to be a fun one. Chris Bubic on the mound. I do really like him. Going up against Aaron Savali. Now, Aaron Savali this year has struggled at home, but again, and he is at home here, so we can't just throw it out, but I always want to reinforce the idea of, these pitchers that are in tough ballparks, their home and away splits are going to be drastic, which we do have from Aaron Savali this year. That being said, Chris Bubic is a guy that can keep the ball on the ground. I would like to think. He's going up against righties. He has a 1.1 ground ball to fly ball rate here. He's going to throw that 4-seam. It isn't getting like crazy hard hit. It's got a lot better, but then he turns to the changeup and the sweeper to get some whiffs, and those are pitches that this Athletics team whiffs on for certain, right? So I do like the idea of the Royals at this price. In terms of our projection model, where we have this at, it's actually a massive disagreement with me in the model, which, by the way, guys, I'm man enough to admit this model has kicked my ass when we've totally, big time disagreed with it this year. This thing seems to be pretty good, which makes sense. We have hundreds of different inputs, and we simulate each at-bat 10,000 times, aka each game 10,000 times. So maybe I'm wrong here, right? But I still do think Bubic is the massive pitching advantage, and I do mean massive over Savale, who, can throw that cutter in that curve, but if he lets those things hang, see you later, especially in a ballpark like this one overall. Now, the bullpens, I also think that, Kansas City has a better bullpen. The numbers would not agree with me, okay? I guess I'm disagreeing with technology here. The numbers wouldn't agree with me, but I do think that they will be better by season's end than the Athletics, okay? So give me the Royals, Kansas City Royals team. What am I trying to say? Give me them on the money line here. They've also started to heat up offensively. I mean, their last 6 games, in fact, let's just go their last 10. There's a couple outliers in here that hurt my point, but let's just be transparent, right? You could see it. 9-2, there's one. 4-0, but 5, 6, 6, 6, 12, 11. They're hitting. Now, I guess you could say this team, let's just take a peek at the Athletics, because they're probably hitting when we throw them at home too, right? Because of that ballpark. Not even so much. Wow, that's kind of crazy, actually. They've only gone over 4.5, so 5 runs in 5 games at home this year. Crazy. Yeah, I like the Royals. I like their team total over as well. Chris Bubic could get some swings and misses. This is a team that, does strike out a decent amount. So maybe, just maybe, especially against lefties, they strike out. Yeah, maybe we look at Chris Bubic. What is his strikeout line? Let's look at this together, because I don't even have it, up or noted or anything like that. Let's look at Chris Bubic and his strikeout line. It's 5.5, minus 120. I mean, this season hasn't exactly been the best. Yeah, I mean, I don't love it. I really don't love it, but he's also going to see a bunch of righties. What's strikeout number? 25.3 against righties. Yeah, that seems like a high number. He probably gets it done, but I don't know, for the minus 120 for 6 strikeouts, that seems like a lot. All right, guys, before we dive into this game, go ahead and comment 46 if you made it this far into the video. I truly, truly do appreciate you. Comment 46. Lets me know that you made it this far in, and, you know, you might just be a couple numbers, a couple digits that you're typing in the comments, but quite literally, you're telling me, hey, I rocked with you for the better part of an hour today. So thank you guys so damn much. But let's dive into this one. Not my favorite matchup, just like yesterday. Dodgers, Marlins. Shohei is on the bump going up against Jansen Junk. Now, I'm not going to lie, I kind of like Jansen Junk. Maybe it's because he's got an awesome name, but, and maybe it's also because he does throw junk as a guy with the last name Junk. Like, if he was just a flamethrower, I'd be like, what are we doing here, right? But he can mix in that slider, you know, that sweeper, so I kind of like it, all right? That's a stupid reason, but hey, I'm just a human. Is he going to pitch well against this Dodgers squad? Probably not. I mean, not many of them have seen him before, but still, it's the damn Dodgers. Dodgers money line in terms of some sort of parlay piece, maybe, but those odds are crazy. You could even look at their team total over. I mean, yesterday they scored, was it 5 runs did they score? Right now you can get over 4.5 for minus 130. I don't hate that, but this is a Miami team that not exactly the worst bullpen. Now they're taxed as hell from yesterday, so maybe that is a good spot to target Dodger team total over, but Jansen Junk could be all right. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't fully sit here and love the idea of a team total over for justifying the minus 140-ish juice. Minus 140-ish juice. But that's what I would look at here. Nothing really else checking many boxes. So, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully, you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. Keep rocking with me. We're having a blast this season. Really do appreciate everyone that is tuned in. New and OG viewers, all the same. I mean, the OG viewers, love you a little bit more. But, hey, if you're new, you'll be an OG soon enough, right? I could say that. Really do appreciate you guys. Catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.